I look at the world that we live in today. When I look at the way in which China is represented in the Western media, I despair. I feel as though I haven't really accomplished very much. I've spent my lifetime trying to promote a better understanding of China within the West. Our limitations as individuals is one thing, but as teachers, as facilitators of a conversation, we can have a broader impact.
At the shores of Weiming Lake at Peking University, Professor Roger T. Ames has lived and worked here for 8 years. He has dedicated himself to interpreting Chinese philosophical classics like the Analects and the Tao Te Ching for Western audiences. In 2021, he was awarded the Chinese Government Friendship Award.
第一天，所以今天可能学生们比较多。15分钟左右。对，所以这个算起来是散步。When I was a young man, I wrote a lot of poetry. In my time, we had something called beatniks. They were people who didn't want to go to the symphony and didn't want to go to ordinary kind of culture. They wanted to make new culture, avant-garde culture. And so I thought, if I can go to China, I can experience a very different world.
His journey of promoting Chinese philosophy began with his experience studying in Hong Kong at the age of 18.
I came into a world that was very different from the world that I came from. That Western individualism is a very powerful impulse that it shapes. What it does is the values are independence, not interdependence. And so when I came to Hong Kong, I found people who really saw themselves in a different way, saw themselves in their relationships with their classmates. 同学 is another way of thinking about family. Like 同学 are people who become your family from outside. And when I go back to Hong Kong now with my white hair, I still visit with my classmates that I had, in the 1960s. A classmate is a member of the family for a lifetime. My name is Roger Ames, and this is a seminar on comparative philosophy. And my good fortune was that I had the opportunity to study with some very knowledgeable, very impressive teachers. When I went to Hong Kong, I was looking for content, for passion, for my poetry. When I left Hong Kong, I became interested in Chinese culture and Chinese philosophy. There's really an important caveat And that is that we're not making a comparison between Western and Chinese thinking.
Since ancient times, both Western and Chinese philosophical traditions have had their own unique vocabularies. The challenge of translation is one of the first barriers to mutual understanding between these philosophical worlds.
The great German philosopher Wittgenstein argues that the limits of our language are the limits of our world. If we want to get out of our world, if we want to expand our world, then we have to learn some more vocabulary. And so the Chinese term Dao doesn't mean the way. It doesn't even mean world making, which is the term that I would use. Dao means Dao. And the student has to come to understand that. Tian doesn't mean heaven with a capital H. Tian means Tian. Yeah.
Did you lock the door?
Yeah. Permanently 长期的搬到这里来是16年，已经有8年。
We live in the Emperor's Garden.
Hawaii, we just have one season is 春天, but always spring. Yeah.
In 1978, after graduating from the University of London, he went on to teach at the University of Hawaii, where he remained until his retirement in 2016. Afterward, he returned to China, becoming a chair professor in the humanities at Peking University, bringing together the essence of both Eastern and Western philosophy.
Like Hawaii is a very special place. Hawaii is inclusive. Hawaii is multi-ethnic. And so in my department from the beginning, the first chairman of my department was a man named Chen Longjie.
夏威大学是西方唯一的一个授予东方哲学，主要是中国哲学、日本哲学、印度哲学博士学位点的地方。那么，尤其是陈龙杰先生他建立了夏威大学哲学系之后，他就有意的要打造东西方哲学交流的桥梁。
They established a East-West Philosophers Conference that brought together Indian philosophy and Japanese philosophy and Islamic philosophy and Buddhist philosophy and Confucian philosophy. In the 1930s, they established a journal, Philosophy East and West, that I ended up editing for 30 years.
Today, 这堂课呀，是这个所有的课堂里面国别最多的一次课，就是因为它燕京学堂有80多个国家的这个学生嘛参加的。
对，同时他们是分组的，20%是搞哲学跟宗教。对，其他以外有很多是经济，是那个政治，是。Objectivity is to keep subjectivity out of it. That's ontological thinking. That zoological objectivity is going to be 主客, is going to be the relationship between the host and the guest, where what they're trying to do is they're trying to achieve an objective.
安乐哲先生可以说是一位伟大的朋友，他对于我们中国，对于我们中华民族， 对于我们的中华文明，对于我们的古代文化，他是非常非常投入的。我觉得这个作用非常大，因为确实，目前已经到了00后了啊，已经到了10后了，甚至于我觉得青年是可以塑造的。
I think, for example, my question was directed towards our recent contemporary philosophy in Spain that actually pushes for a more vitalist view on life, a more interdependent view on life and a more holistic view on life. So I think in that way, it reminded me of the idea of becoming rather than being, similar to Chinese philosophy. So I think there's some connection point there between China and Spain.
As he delved deeper into Confucian philosophy, Roger Ames gradually realized that the continuity of Chinese civilization is inseparable from the Chinese concepts of family and filial piety. To this day, these concepts continue to connect the wisdom of Confucian philosophy and are deeply embedded in the behavior of the Chinese people.
The Chinese model, the governing metaphor of China is family. You don't say everybody, you say 大家. You don't say country, you say 国家. You don't say human being, you say 人家. That the idea of family is a pervasive value because family is that institution, human institution, where we can get the most out of people.
在众多的这种西方的研究中国的学者里面，他的独特的之处在于，他对于中西方哲学都有非常深刻的理解。这种深刻的理解使他在翻译、介绍和评价、分析中国哲学这种传统哲学的概念的时候呢，他有他自己独特的这种视角。他提出了一些很多这个很有独创性的这种见解。比如说，他把儒家伦理思想归纳为叫角色伦理。
And so my idea of 角色伦理学, is exactly that Confucian morality is all about understanding yourself in terms of the roles that you live in your family, in your professional life, and so on.
Yeah. 然后它这里有一个比较重要的地方，就是一个八卦亭和这个说法台，道生一，一生二，二生三，三生万物，然后人法地，地法天。
昨天在北大，就是我们谈那个道德经42。42，就是那个道生一。
就是这样就看到了。
道法这样。
道法这样。
The Chinese philosophy was certainly rooted more than 2,000-3,000 years ago. It's the nature of Confucian philosophy to absorb into itself, 是包容性的, that it's inclusive, that it doesn't push things away, it adapts culture that comes from outside and makes it into something that is Chinese.
我们这个叫清扫重刷。它这个用的是这个棕榈这个树皮，来轻轻的放上来。好，可以。好，对，把每一个角落都擦到。好，可以了，这个就可以了。
可以跳了。
My first time.
Engraving blocking.
Today, we function under a Westphalian model of international relations. That kind of an international dialogue is always about politics and economy. What we have to do is we have to move from international relations to a civilizational dialogue. And so what we need to do through a civilizational dialogue is to bring all of our world's cultures together to try to address issues that, if they're not addressed, might mean the end of humanity itself.
This pattern was selected as the image of Chengdu city.
Oh.
They can see patterns in Chengdu. It's a panda.
Oh, yeah. Maybe this is better.
Yeah.
The idea of sun worship is very, I mean, think of Egypt, you know, North American indigenous people, you know, that the sun has always been such an important thing. But that symbol, we saw yesterday, Xingyang Gong, the yin yang, and the transformation, 就是变化，那个转化, and then you have 时间空间. You know, all of these different aspects of the human experience seem to be represented, you know, in these religious practices.
It's a strong scepter here. It's a strong scepter here. It's so
那个中国传统文化介绍到外国去，那个考古学是非常重要。
确实中国它有天啊、地啊，它可以把那个地位可能说得非常非常高，但是在具体操作当中实施过程当中呢，它实际上还是以家庭、以族群以那个家族为核心。
天人合一，对，我们是天人为二，问题就是在这里，对。
In early spring in Beijing, Roger Ames is preparing to release his new book, a source book in classical Confucian philosophy. Alongside the book launch, he plans to meet with some special friends.
他是我的老师，我把他的那个老子金注记翻成英文，把它发表出来。那个时候做一个硕士的学校，70年跟他在台湾大学念过书。
你好，同学真棒，祝贺你啊，祝贺啊！
对，不能分开。
不能分开了。
单身。
以后老安在哪，我就要看到你。
陈老师，
你一路走来，我看你东西深深的中国哲学，我好喜欢。本来要
先秦儒学哲学文献世界是安乐哲先生50余年学术生涯的又一重大成果。
今天特别高兴，好多老朋友在这里。我们在年轻的时候就在一起，后来有机会几十年，我们还没有跑到北大。这个是很不容易的。这样，他不只是在儒学到老学、孔学，他都下很大功夫。他把儒家由儒释道都能够汇在一起。他写东西有时代性、生命感、社会关怀性，所以他能够把中外的东西汇合，然后走出自己一条路。
20世纪30年代，一位年轻的中国学者陈荣坚从哈佛大学毕业，并成为绍义大学哲学系第一个系主任。我想继续他的项目，使中国哲学成为世界哲学不可分割的一部分。
In this book, Roger Ames approaches the subject from a comparative perspective between Eastern and Western philosophy, compiling 94 key Confucian terms. For each term, he first identifies an English equivalent, then references works like Shouwen Jiezi, or explaining and analyzing characters, and finally interprets the terms using English, based on Confucian classics. Roger Ames hopes to carry on the legacy of his mentor, Wing-Tsit Chan, striving to help the world understand and appreciate the beauty of Chinese philosophy.
安乐哲教授指出，中国哲学术语是很难在英语当中找到完全对应的词汇，它的翻译精细流畅考究。这种翻译方式不仅仅有助于减少西方对中国哲学的误解，也有助于推动中国哲学思想的跨文化传播。
Is an ambitious work of scholarship that I believe provides the foundation for a more accurate understanding of classical Chinese thought. Because of that, it can contribute substantially to greater understanding and sympathy between peoples of China and those of other nations.
Entering the 21st century, the dialogue between Eastern and Western philosophy has entered a new era. Moving between these worlds, Roger Ames ultimately chose to conduct research in China, delving into the essence of Chinese philosophy. He has taken on the mission of making the promotion of Chinese philosophy an essential part of the development of global philosophy, benefiting the world and leaving a forever legacy for future generations.
Maybe it's time to move from a political, economic, international relations model of world order to a civilizational model. Confucian culture is an important part of world culture. And so what we need to do through a civilizational dialogue is to bring all of our world's cultures together. We've produced technologies, we've produced the science, we've produced the artificial intelligence that can reshape the world very quickly. What we have to do is we have to use this intelligence in order to address the pressing issues of our time. And this requires collaboration, cooperation, requires values that are very prominent within the Chinese philosophical traditions.